One. Will Cowboys owner Jerry Jones and Cowboys coach Jimmy Johnson ever be able to resolve their feud? That question remains unanswered tonight, despite the fact that two men met today, and now there's been someone come in to act as a mediator. Let's go to Dallas, Texas. This is better than the real Dallas. Earlier today, Jimmy Johnson, one of the wealthiest and most successful coaches in the NFL, emerged from a 2-hour meeting with owner Jerry Jones. For now, Johnson is still the coach of the Cowboys.
Back when sports radio, back when sports TV was cool.
Very productive in that we were very
Or
candid
local media.
with what.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! How you doing, everybody?
Each of the last 5 years.
How you doing, everybody? We're on the way back machine today here on DCR TV with the late great George Michael. Okay, so what do we got here? Let's see what we can pull up on the video machine for right now. Let's see this one here.
Can you keep a secret? Because I can't.
Sarah's secret is almost out. DMV, are you ready?
Guess I won't be using these anymore.
What the cane? Doesn't need the cane anymore, huh? That's Sarah Fraser there. Okay, it's a lot of news yesterday. This is Dave TV for the 24th of July, 20. What do I need the hat on? I don't know. It's hot in here. It's hot in here. It's 7:24. It's the time. It's the temperature of the time. Anyhow, big news yesterday had a lot to do with Cumulus here in Washington on this July 24th edition, 2014. Let me turn this light up. Maybe that'll help. Maybe that's not a... There we go. Yeah, that's a little better. Anyway, the big news yesterday. Basically, we're the only people that had it. I don't know. None of the radio trade pubs reported it today. So, some of them are friendly to me. And we got stuff on the screen. But anyhow, Mark O'Brien. Mark O'Brien's been in Washington radio for years. I think he worked at WASH for years. He's programmed a lot of things. Been all over the place. Anyhow, back in early 2013, he was hired to be the market manager for Cumulus here in Washington. They have their two stations, WMAL Ready Talker and Hot Adult Contemporary WRQX, which used to be known as Mix 107.3. Anyhow, a couple months into his term, he gets into a big dust-up with Jack Diamond. They want Jack Diamond just to retire. They want to put in Burt Weiss there from Atlanta, who's under the Cumulus umbrella, blah, 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 blah. And that doesn't go well. Jack is mad. He doesn't want to, he knows what's happening to him. He doesn't want to cooperate and do a nice retirement, so he just says, F you, and then they fire him. So he, leaves there, and then Burt comes in, and Burt shows piped in from Atlanta, and it doesn't do well. And after a year of that, they take Burt off, and now they put Marco, who's from the afternoons and the mornings, just to do a music show, and the station's on kind of a holding pattern, and they bring in a new program director, music director guy, whatever. Anyway, long story short, you look at what's going on there, and their declining ratings. Here's once a constantly top 10 station, now down in 19th, 20th place, even lower before that. Anyhow, and then you look at MAL. It's a mess of a station. It really is. They don't know quite what they're doing. Their ratings are kind of slumping this summer too. They're down to like 15th place. The advertisers are all these low things. Viagra and nursing homes and cemeteries and tax abatement firms and Dallas superfood and not a sermon, just a thought. While other stations have the car dealers and the defense contractors. So anyhow, I don't know. Cumulus is floundering here in Washington. They're floundering all over the country. They're floundering in San Francisco. They're floundering in New York. It's a floundering, stupidly run company, and they're screwed up. But anyhow, I liked Mark O'Brien. He was a nice guy. I do. I really like Mark, and I like Bill Hess, who runs WMAL. I think he's a nice guy, too. But anyhow, the big news yesterday that we reported was that Mark O'Brien is basically taken out of his job. Okay, he's still with Cumulus, under contract with them for another couple months or whatever, maybe in the next year. But he's no longer now the market manager for Washington, or not officially. That's what his business is. He may still have the title, be sitting there in his office, but he's basically not doing anything for Washington anymore. So they're going to bring somebody else in. Who knows? Or maybe they already got somebody surreptitiously doing something. Or maybe they're running out of Atlanta. If that's the case, good luck, because they're going to go down the toilet. So anyhow, then that's the thing. So that was the big news yesterday. They brought in some advertising guy too. Nobody cares about that. And then we get this thing from Sarah. Now, Sarah used to work over at Hot 99.5, then she left there. Now she's doing like some stuff at Channel 5 on their hippy dippy morning news or whatever. Anyhow, so then she puts that video out. Now, somebody tells me that that video that you saw there, where she's in the studio, that was WRQX's studio. So that's obviously where she's going. You know, they need a morning show, and I think, you know, and certainly makes sense. You take somebody from the successful Hot 99.5 show, she's bubbling with personality and verve and everything else, and you build a show around her. Here in based a Washington-based show, you know, and put her on in mornings on this All the Hits 107.3 WRQX, wherever they're calling it this week. So the problem that Cumulus has here in Washington is the fact that that genre of music is already kind of oversaturated on the radio. You know, what we call the contemporary hit sound. Hot 99.5, Clear Channel on 99.5 gets great ratings. I mean, they're dominant in that. They have Kane in the mornings. It's a very popular station among the kids. And then you have Fresh, 94.7 Fresh FM, which kind of skews it a little more to the women and takes kind of the heavy rap and stuff out of it. And that also does well. It's not as, you know, it's not stellar ratings, but it certainly does well. Then you combine that with PGC, their next door neighbor there out in Lanham, soon to be down in Southwest DC. And, you know, they also, you know, PGC also, you know, you take those two stations together and put their ratings together, and they do pretty well together. So you look at those three stations, PGC, WIED, Fresh 94.7, and Hot 95 WIHT, and they're doing really well with that. They kind of bundled up the top 40 format. Then you've got this down the dial here, 107.3, trying to do the same thing, and it just ain't working. And I don't know, they're you know, in an already crowded field, and the bottom line would say, hey, do something different. You know, I think personally in the Washington market, you could do, I still think if you wanted to do the contemporary format, mix it with a Hispanic. You know, you got El Zal there at 107.9. El Zal would get great ratings in this market. It would be a top 10 station if it had a good signal. Instead, they're way out there in Annapolis, and the signal doesn't get into Northern Virginia on 107.9. If that signal was an inside the Beltway stick and was a killer signal, I think they would be a chronic top 10 performer. So what you do at Cumulus is you say, hey, let's take what they're doing and put it here in, you know, 107.3, which is a good signal. It's right inside the Beltway. And then maybe throw in some of that Hot 99.5 and Fresh to the mix and mix it all up and make kind of a, you know, Hispanic, Anglo, you know, English, Hispanic, English, Spanish hit station. Mix it all up, and that would differentiate from what they're doing at PGC and Fresh and Hot. You know, you're doing something different. You've got your own identity. Right now, 107.3 doesn't have an identity. It's just kind of sitting there, you know. If they want to do that, I think that would work. If you put some money behind it and some, you know, local talent and get some of the people that are now working at El Zal in that 87.7 there, bring them over and mix it up. I think you could really build a cool station doing that. Otherwise, just go and start something completely different. You know, DC does not have a well-staffed, cool oldies station, you know, like WCBS FM in New York or WOGL in Philly. Do something like that. Or, you know, I don't know, you know, do something completely different. You know, maybe do a AAA rocker here in Washington or something like that. I don't know. But whatever. It'd be interesting to see now what happens in the post-O'Brien world there at WRQX. I'd like to thank Mr. Rob up there somewhere in southern Pennsylvania, northern Maryland. I forget exactly. He's a good old radio guy. Anyhow, he sent me some really cool cassette tape. Big Daddy Weekend on one side. I believe that's the old WOL or something. And then the WRC radio special. So very cool. Very cool for that. Thank you very much, Rob. And some really cool original snitches from the old Afro-American newspaper. So that's very cool. So anyhow, one of the projects I've been doing here remember the new computer that a very kind gentleman gave us back in, built for us actually back in February. I've been doing a lot of digitizing, working on a lot of digital files here. And, you know, we've got a whole bunch of cool stuff on this thing. I'm copying stuff over, but You know, he seemed to like Channel 9 and Channel 5, Channel 9 and Channel 4 a lot because there's not a lot of 5 and 7. There's a little bit of 7 in here, but some really cool stuff. But you know, a whole lot of wild and crazy videos that I'm transcribing and going to start editing down, and I'm going to present more of it here on Dave TV. But some really neat stuff, like for example,
We don't got. When you over, we go to the.
like
I feel that we as
like
the US,
Gordon. Remember Gordon Peterson? Gordon Peterson talking to Marion Barry back when Marion was having all of his hotel troubles, and then a whole bunch of cool things, and just a lot of really cool things. But I got a lot of these old tapes that have been transcribed, and I'm digitizing some of them, and we're looking through a lot of this stuff. What's this one? Yeah, that's old 60 Minutes. Remember the old Agronsky and
The program was then and continues to be the most widely watched public affairs television broadcast in the nation's capital.
Look at George Will.
Headline on the program's 5th anniversary described the panelists as red-faced, fed up, indignant, and at the boiling point.
a whole lot of crazy stuff. We're going through all this stuff. It's got ads in it.
and that's what we're trying to deliver.
It's nothing less than a total commitment to customer satisfaction. That's what Rosenthal is all about.
Ever wonder how wet?
But anyhow, so I'm going through a lot of this stuff. There's old stuff from Channel 4 and some old stuff from Jim Vanson as we started out the day there with some great
My guess is the
George Michael. So
story of the 70s.
we'll be putting some more of that in over the days and years here on Dave TV. All right, folks, hitting the 12-minute mark. Thanks for watching Dave TV for the 24th of July, 2014. Book 'em, Dano.